fabulous guest, Cherie Kerr. How are you doing, Cherie?
I'm doing great. I wish I were as awake as you guys. Everybody's terrific. I feel like it's first thing in the morning. We all need to start singing. I feel like I'm in church.
Hey, I was getting ready to say, my Cherie Amore. You know what?
Well,
I
thank
tell you
you.
what, it's been this all week we've been concentrating on getting America back to work, getting America in the high spirits that you can, uh, inspiring and teaching and enhancing everything that we do, not just in employment, but what we do in life. And we're going to continue that tonight. Uh, at the beginning of Friday, the weekend. So currently, me and Michelle is in Texas, and I will be on the plane first thing in the morning, heading back to California. I will be in California studios with my fantastic producer Noah. How you doing? Hey man, I'm back there, man, all week with you in studio on next week. But we're gonna talk about one of the things me and Michelle, just like we always talk about. We get off the show, watch Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, this and that. But you know what, Noah? Tonight we're gonna watch Coming to America 2. It's gonna be on Prime. Oh man, it starts tonight, man. And Michelle and I, we're gonna take a detour from Deep Space Nine. And oh yeah, you know what, man? When I was in the game a little bit, then I had an opportunity to meet Eddie and Arsenio and this and that. That was a different lifetime ago. I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing radio and I'm doing this. I mean, but Michelle, you want to say a little bit about the Coming to America too?
I loved Coming to America, the original one. I mean, Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy, and McDowell's, aka McDonald. I can't wait to see tonight. It's on Prime Video, so everyone take a look at it.
Hey Chuck, did you get an opportunity to watch that when it was out a while? I mean,
I saw it. I saw the first one. Yes, I enjoyed it. It was funny. Yeah, and I just noticed it was coming on last night. I didn't know it was coming on tonight, but I'll pay attention to it. Yeah, that's good.
what about you, Cherie? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am, and I'm looking forward to seeing it too. I don't think it'll be tonight, but it'll be soon.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I want to talk about our show for tonight, communication and presentation skills for the 21st century. And I tell you, I uh, I don't think that we could have a better guest than what we got tonight to help discuss these things, and also, just like I said, bring a little humor and enhance our skills on whatever we're trying to do. Chuck, can you tell our listening audience what the purpose of the show today is?
Sure. Uh, Tonight, we're going to learn how to speak, write, and communicate the ExecuProv way. We're going to face the fear of communicating and managing uncontrollable situations. And we're going to appreciate the importance of listening skills and good humor.
And by saying that, just like I always mention, especially this week, is every day is a learning experience, and we are going through a lot of different technologies and education. Everything is changing. In order to be current in the workforce, and in order to be current in society, in order to not be a dinosaur, we have to be able to adapt and adjust to changing situations. So communication to me is the most important way to do that. And so again, sit back, listen. Michelle, can you introduce our guest, please?
Yes, I would love to. Cherie Kerr, who founded ExecuProv in 1983, has provided a variety of classes on presentation and communication skills to hundreds of business professionals from Fortune 100 and 500 companies. Starting with a single public speaking class, ExecuProv's offerings have expanded to include over a dozen workshops, as well custom tailored courses designed for the needs of specific clients. Her clients include Toyota, Experian, the Hilton Hotel, BJ's Restaurant Brew House, Southern California Edison, Panasonic, Office Depot, to name a few. Kerr has also provided classes to various universities and collegiate department, including University of Southern California, California State University, Fullerton, the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, and the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. She has also worked for governmental agencies, including the LA City Attorney's Office, the LA District Attorney's Office, the County of Orange DA's Office, the Orange County Bar Foundation, and the Orange County Juvenile Drug Court Program. Cherie is the author of 15 books, 10 of which feature self-help techniques on presentation and communication skills. Kerr shares her ideas and theories culled from her varied background and expertise in PR and communications. She has ghosted 3 books for clients and 12 of her own, including a critically acclaimed memoir of her father's life as a jazz musician entitled Charlie's Notes, which was a New York Book Festival winner of 2011, the film festival circuit. She also is a member of Women in Film. Kerr is a member of the American Society of Composers, Artists, and Publishers, and has been honored as an award-winning journalist and publicist. Kerr was named, along with Disney's Michael Eisner, as one of the top 10 most sensational people in Orange County, California by Orange Coast Magazine. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, proudly presents Cherie Kerr.
Welcome to the show, Cherie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's you just enlightened my weekend starting out, and fantastic bio, and all the great things that you're doing. Is it anything that Michelle did not mention in that? Can you tell us a little bit more about?
I think the only other thing is that I have a vast background in improvisational comedy, and that's important to mention simply because a lot of the lessons and the way we teach our speakers and communicators is with a lot of the tenets and basics of improvisational comedy. So I was a founding member of the LA Groundlings. I'm sure some of your audience may know that organization, but if not, it's like a breeding ground, if you will, for Saturday Night Live. And many of the people on that show or other actors that you see different places came from there, and including Phil Hartman, Lisa Kudrow from Friends, Maya Rudolph, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Will Ferrell, I think I already said that, Chris Kattan. Oh gosh, there's so many people that have gone through their organization, and we started that organization in 1972. They say 74, but the first 12 of us that were founding members started that organization in 72. So I'm a big proponent of everybody on the planet having to study improv comedy, because I think it's so applicable to all of our communication all day, and it makes us quick and fast and sharp and agile, and also able to listen very intently and carefully and be in the moment. And we're just better at everything we do if we learn some of those basics, their rules and tools. So they're threaded throughout the body of my work. And by the way, thanks for reading all that. It makes me just exhausted listening to it. I'm trying to figure out how I did that and raised 3 kids at the same time. Well, I didn't raise them all at the same time. I had 2 and I did them. And then I got divorced, and I was divorced for quite a while. And then I married somebody else and had another child. So when the other kids were leaving home, I began raising that one. And I don't know, how I did it, I think, but for the grace of God giving me an abundant amount of energy, for which I'm very grateful.
Wow, I tell you, it's just that was fantastic, and all the things that Michelle read and research. We're just so happy to have you on here. So, but I tell you what, we're gonna take a station break, and we're gonna come back and delve off into Cherie a little bit more and find about all the other great things that she's doing. It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley. How you pronounce that? ExecuProv. 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 Okay. Okay. So, Michelle, I'm going to ask the first 2 and 3. And then you got 4 and 5. Chuck is going to have, okay, 2 and 3. Okay. Chuck got 6 and 7. Okay. So, so you got 4 and 5. So get that. This is not working. Okay, this is not working. Okay. Be careful that sound when you put that coffee.
To the number, the
Okay.
calling number.
Welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley. You know, one thing, I was so excited that I forgot to give the call-in number. You know, if you want to talk to this great lady, you can call us at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. We encourage you to call in and become part of the conversation. You know, so hey, Cherie, can you tell us about ExecuProv? You know, what
Sure.
is it?
As well as Michelle mentioned, it's a company that started in 1983. And what created it was out of necessity. I've been a publicist most of my life, and I had a number of high profile clients that had big titles. And I had to do press conferences with them. I had to put them on the radio and television at that time. And most of them were just horrible. They had poor diction. They didn't have great energy. They didn't have great presence. And I thought to myself, with all my background in improv, and I know how great it is for just instant communication and putting people at ease and all the things it does, I did an experiment. And I said, hey, there was 10 guys. And I said, no women, just guys. I said, how would you like me to put you through an 8-week, once a week improv comedy workshop? And the rest is history. They were phenomenal when they came out of that, with their confidence and their presence and just their whole demeanor. So that's really how it was born. It was born out of necessity. And then I started teaching, you know, regular classes for other people, open enrollment classes, where people came from all types of industry to study with me for like a 1-day class or something. And then companies started coming to us, and pretty soon we were working for the DA's office. And then I was teaching at the State Bar of California as well, and then ultimately trained all their board of governors. So it just kind of grew by word of mouth. And as Michelle said too, we started with just one public speaking skills class because we thought it was so necessary. And also we wanted people to feel comfortable and not be afraid and be, you know, bold and confident and know all the things that improv players and actors know and do, to make them come across as full pro. And most people do not like to public speak. I would say most people, really, seriously. But when they learn some of the tricks of the trade of the improv player, they're no longer afraid. So that's been my big mission, is to teach the business professional a lot of the things that we learn and we do over time to become very comfortable and very connectable. That's our whole jam, is to make the human connection. And today it's even harder because we're doing it online. But that was my intent. And then we began to add other classes. We have a class called How to Think Fast on Your Feet Without Putting Them in Your Mouth. And it's a wonderful class for being quick and agile and, prompt with answers without saying the wrong thing. We have What's So Funny, that teaches you how to get humor and storytelling in your speeches and presentations. We have an email etiquette class. We have a class called Death by PowerPoint, how to avoid killing your presentation and sucking the life out of your audience. And that's very popular at the Naval Academy. I taught there for 8 years. And I ended up teaching all the midshipmen this one year, all 4 levels, and then ended up teaching the faculty. But I wrote that book in honor of them. And it was a real joy. But that's a really fun class too, because most people misuse PowerPoint and they want to give you, the kitchen sink. And I figure if I want to read, War and Peace, I'll just go to the library and get the book. I don't need to read it on the wall. But that is what a lot of people do. They overdo it. And so we have 7 tips for delivery, 7 tips for content. And it's a fun class. So we've just been adding classes every year. And I think we have 13 or 14 classes now.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a
Cherie,
lot.
Well, it's great. It's great. What types of clients do you teach? Can you kind of go into that a little bit more in detail?
Yeah, they're not always, top. I mean, many of my clients, and I private coach them. At one point, I totally helped to write and to train and prepare the president of Toyota, North America's president, for a big dealer show that they had to do. They do them every year. And so I worked, with him just by himself after he went through one of my classes. And then we work with mid-level management. We work with a lot of the management trainees at Toyota when they're first coming out of their training program and then going out into the field and getting jobs. We teach admin people depending on, what they need, but it's all walks of life. And we teach teenagers. My improv comedy group called the Orange County Crazies has a lot of children's programs as well, because we think it's really important for kids to learn these methods when they're younger. So when they go out in the business world, they'll be really good at communicating with people. So it's all levels and all ages. We don't have an age limit, except for the kids. We start with kids who are 8 years old, and they can't really be any younger than that to study. But it's all levels and all walks of lives and all different companies.
That's interesting, Cherie. And we were also talking earlier, you were saying about your books. What are your books about? You have a lot of them. So what are they about?
Almost every class I teach has a corresponding book that goes with the class, so that if you're not able to take the class, or after you take it, I give everybody a lot of homework. I went to Catholic school, so everybody gets a lot of homework. And I send them home with each chapter and say, okay, study this chapter, that one, and this one, and do the homework in it. Because you can't just go to an improv class, just like you would a golf lesson or something, and learn everything in one day. You really have to keep up your practices with it in order to, to make it stick. And I think we're pretty good at that. We like to think we are, because we hear from people a lot who say, gee, I did your diction exercises and I still use them and they're really helpful. So each of the books most all the books I've written were corresponding to classes. Like I have one of my newest classes is called Write Away, and it's WRITE. And in that book, I teach business professionals how to be better writers, even on texts and emails and that kind of thing. And they have to study 18 different styles of writing to be able to be a good writer. Things that we don't think about, that they're all around us, like stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, journalism, what you would put on a billboard, how you would write a website, a children's story. I make all my students take one topic, like in the book, we have this slogan, got milk, and we write a different style to that theme. And it's really a fun class to take. I have a rule too, because I went to parochial school, that if you're not having fun, you shouldn't have to go. So almost every class we teach is full of humor, and they get to express, they get to really be creative, explore themselves, their different levels and capacities. And so we try to make stuff fun and interesting. So that's what most of the books are. And then I've also written 2 books on comedy. I've written a book on how to develop original characters in comedy, and also a book on how to write sketch comedy.
That's amazing. Well, where were these books sold?
They're everywhere. They're Barnes and Noble, Amazon. You just can go online, I think, and find all of them, or you can go to our website and they're there as well.
Okay.
I used to be a stand-up comedian. Me and you talked
I
about that one.
know. I heard that. That's awesome.
And improv. I mean, so I had an opportunity to do a lot of that. And most of the time you go on stage, you don't know what you're going to
That's
say.
right.
And plus, you have to really glance and feel your audience out. And
Yeah.
by doing that and being able to think from the top of your mind, it's kind of like what they call today spoken word, all this. I mean, but it's a little bit more detail in that.
Right.
So talking about that, what kind of people skills do you teach, and and people gain from improv? I know how I
Well,
feel, but can you tell our audience about that a little bit?
sure, of course. And we have a term, JC, that we call smelling the audience. And we will literally, I mean, that's a metaphor, but we stand behind this fake wall that we have before we go out on stage and just listen to the din in the room. Sometimes it's so quiet, it's like it's full of Dominican nuns. And then next time we do a show, it's Animal House already out there and we haven't even started the show. So we try to pick up the vibe, like you say, because our job is to make that human connection. The minute we come out and start to perform, that we are in their groove, or if they're a little low and less energetic, we'll bring them up, and fire them up so that we're all kind of a unit working together. But in our communication skills class for one-on-one communication or with small groups, I teach 17 rules and tools of improv comedy that are used among the actors when they study. So my theory is if they could learn those same basics, and they cover a lot of ground, then they can communicate with anybody, anytime, anywhere. And so that's how we teach that class. We do some scenes, we do some role playing, we do some drills and exercises, and it's just a really lively day.
Well,
So that's
I say that that this will cause a person to, thought-provoking, think about things, communicate, react. It causes you to be on your feet at all times. So
right.
being sharp, because you have to come back and you have to respond, and you constantly developing communication skills. You know what? We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and continue our conversation with Cherie Kerr. It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley.
Oh, I just lost you.
Okay.
I lost
Hey,
you.
sorry about that. I think I had pulled the mic away a
Dial
little
me
bit.
back.
Okay.
Can you guys dial me back? I just lost you.
I'm gonna tell you something. James. 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 James.
Call me
James.
back. I'll try to call you. Shoot. I lost you.
James.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Noah. Can you hear me? I dropped off a commercial and I'm really sorry.
James.
Okay.
James. James. James.
Okay.
Cherie dropped off during commercials. He'll know where that. Make sure he still
Hey,
has.
hey, Noah, check Cherie, Mike. Make sure she's still there. Okay. Okay. You got her back? Okay. Hey. Okay, Michelle, you got you don't have to go in this order, but you got 18 and 19 when it comes to you.
Okay.
Okay. Testing. How'd that sound, Noah? Hey, Noah, I'm bringing you in on this one immediately. Okay. Welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley. I'll tell you, listening audience, you can call in at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Noah, is she putting it down?
You mean for the improv injecting? Anybody who's legitimately trained, Second City, the Groundlings. I don't know who is in the San Diego area, but if you could go take one of their classes, there's a lot of things available out there. And JC, just to make a point, you were asking me a little bit about technique. There's 3 of those 17 basic rules that we always use. The first one is called serve and support. And that means when the actors are on stage, they're not self-conscious. They're not thinking about themselves. They're thinking, what can I do to support these other actors to make them look good? That's all they think about. So it takes the self-consciousness off. And it's a very gracious way to, to be on stage. It's a very kind of metaphysical experience. The second one is react and respond. And you mentioned it a moment ago. We only react and respond to last thing said or last idea held. And that unifies everything and keeps everybody on track. And then we have be here now, which is the gospel according to improv. We are never lagging behind, wishing we had said something, or jumping ahead and anticipating, which most business people do. We're just in the moment. And I know you've been hitting on that. So if everybody listening just adhered to those 3 rules, everything would work so much better in their communication, their Q&A, and so on. So Noah, was that you who was talking to me? Asking me that? I think anybody who can go study improv, when I started doing this many years ago, there was nothing like that around. Well, but you know what? If you have a really good teacher, they will make you, after the first night, feel completely relaxed and safe. And I know with our work, we always provide a safe environment. In fact, same thing when we're doing a show. I tell the audience, we'd love to get your suggestions, and have some things happen from you. But and we're going to put some of you in the show, but don't anybody feel like they have to volunteer, or in class, they don't have to do a particular exercise if they're uncomfortable. But by an hour into the class, everybody wants to get up on stage. They want to go to our costume closet and put on costume. I mean, people are just having a blast. So you want to make sure you have a teacher that will keep you safe in everything that you do in a class.
I was getting ready to ask you about regarding fast on your feet class, but one question, I'm gonna change that one. When you're teaching improv, do you just give a topic and just pick people, or do they know or their characters, or they just coming in? How they doing it today?
Well, it's like, let's say we're doing a show or even a class. Maybe I have 4 of the actors up on stage. I call them up. And then I say, okay, we're going to do a scene on, this and such. I give them the drill, and then the audience tells me who they are, where they are, and what their conflict is. And then they just go from there. But there's different drills and exercises that we do, especially for beginners, that are rather simple, where everybody can participate. So let's say, for instance, we did book panel with all of you guys. and you guys would come out maybe in a character with a certain attitude or maybe a foreign accent or something. And the topic that the audience might give us is to talk about the relief package today, because we try to keep everything very relevant and current. So the relief package, and maybe they've each written a book on how to relieve your COVID or something like that. And they would be different takes, and they would sit there and pretend like they're reading out of a book. And they're all, it's just all happening as this we always tell people, don't think, just be. So they're processing information. And it's really fun. You can't make a mistake so long as you kind of follow the rules. And so when you pull people up from the audience, or even the actors, the students, and put them on stage, they may not know what they're going to do until you give them that assignment. But we just tell them our number one rule is trust. And we say, trust everybody you're working with until they show you that you can't trust them, and be trustworthy. Make sure everybody knows they can count on you to save their butts in a scene or make something work. So that's kind of how it is. And it's really fun, especially when you get somebody from the audience and you put them in a scene, and the other actors always yes and them. That's something we always go with what anybody says or does, so that there's no conflict, or the scene can't just stop in midair and not go anywhere. And when they come up, for instance, we do a piece called The Interview, and all the actors are assigned some kind of quirk. Maybe one talks too loud. Maybe one sits too close to the interviewer. Well, the audience person comes up and sits in the interviewer chair, and he has a bell in his hand. And when he's finally sick of somebody, they walk in, pretend they're going to do the interview, and they do that quirk that they have. Then he hits the bell and they leave. So it puts that person in the show, which is fun. They get to kind of direct and be in control of it. And the audience loves it. They love to see audience members come up and do something in a show who have no idea what they're doing.
That's amazing. We should all be starting. I think we should all go to class after this to one of your classes.
I'd love to have you in a class. I would.
We will.
We're teaching a lot of our classes now online also, and it's a lot of
Are
fun.
you? Well, in
Yeah.
that regard, you're talking about actors and maybe actresses as well. How about from the business professionals that enroll in your class? Who are they, and what are you teaching them these same techniques and giving them the same
Yes.
advice?
And yes, and something, this is interesting also, Chuck, and in my empirical studies over all these years, I'm absolutely amazed at how many talented people, how many great minds there are in the business community. Now, most actors, and I don't want to say this as a rule, because I've worked with a lot of great improv players and been very blessed that way, but they're more emotional. It's easy for them to emote or to bring up feelings or to interpret certain lines in a particular way. But many of them might be in just a certain groove in a certain area. Business people have always stunned me at how talented they are and gifted, because their minds are really very quick and sharp and full of information, a lot more information than a sequestered actor would be around, because they're just studying acting all the time, if that makes sense. So I love working with business people, because I know all of them has a playful side, and everybody has a humor muscle. It's just that we don't exercise it as we get older. We just let it sort of get flabby and sit there. But when you're using humor a lot, or when you're studying it or performing it, and you don't even know what you're going to do, but you do it, I'm always impressed with the business professionals. And it's kind of a challenge in one way, but it's a blast, because I see them in these, highly pressured jobs and occupations. But yet when they come to my improv class, it's like they got to go out on the playground for the day and just get crazy and fun. And then it does seep into what they do in terms of how they come across with their confidence, how quick they are to answer questions, how much they can take charge of a room and keep it under control. All these things start to filter into their business world and help them in many ways. So if I had my way, everybody would have to take an improv class starting from kindergarten on, to just for so many different reasons. I think it should be as requisite as math and reading. I really do.
Well,
Cheri, I used to watch that TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? And
Yes.
I loved it with
Yeah.
Drew Carey and Wayne Brady. It was just amazing. My mom used to crack up watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Now you mentioned you're one of the founding members of the LA Groundlings and the alumni, Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Will Ferrell, to name a few.
Hey, I meant to mention Cheryl Hines too, and Kathy
Oh,
Griffin.
Cheryl
Kathy used
Hines
to-
from the Cheryl
Yeah.
Hines from the Larry David Show.
Yes,
Curb Your
Curb is
Enthusiasm.
like one of my favorite shows ever. I love that
Yes.
show. And that's
Yes.
all improvised, by the way. I just finished a film that's complete. It's a 93-minute mockumentary. It's all improvised.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
the
I had
LA
my
sorry,
beat
go ahead.
points or kind of what we call a scriptment, where we outline what we want to have happen throughout the whole thing. Cause I teach a lot of screenwriting and so on, but we improvised every scene and it was just really fun to do.
Wow,
Very
that
fun.
does sound like fun. Now, the LA Groundlings, how did it all come about? What made you decide to be a member of that? Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah, as a kid, I think I was 6 years old when I had my first acting coach, because my parents were all they were musical. My sister was very musical, but I was not. I had a great ear, so I've written a lot of lyrics and things, but I couldn't play an instrument. My father started with a violin and finally I wanted at the end a tuba and he got me one and then he said, okay, that's it, you're done. And I said, that's fine, because I don't want to do this anymore. So I ended up taking some acting classes. Then when I got to high school, it wasn't so cool, to do that thing, at least at my school. And so I dropped out of it. And then when I was 24 years old, had 2 children and a divorce. And I really wanted to go back and begin to study. So a friend of mine who knew Gary Austin, who started the Groundlings, I don't know if none of you know who he is, and he just died a couple of years ago. I miss him every day. He's the first person Helen Hunt thanked when she got her Academy Award for his work with her. So he started this improv workshop. He was from the committee in San Francisco and migrated down to LA like a lot of them did. And he started this workshop. And then I think I was maybe the 6th or 7th person in the group. Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live, the first primetime player, she was in the group. Pat Morita, Jack Sue, Craig T. Nelson, who all of a sudden left and said, I'm going to go up north and work in my brother's video store. And the next time I saw him, he was in Poltergeist. I mean, it was amazing how many people were in that group. Valerie Curtin, no relation to Jane Curtin, but she's a brilliant writer and she was with Barry Levinson for many years. In fact, I have some great stories about us on Vermont Street in LA in this cellar called a cellar, probably not bigger than the room any of you were in. And that's where we would work out. And then we moved on. And then by 74, I think, or 75, we were able to rent a building on Melrose when it was just starting to get popular. And eventually in the 90s, they were able to buy that building and build a couple of more buildings. But I just wanted to go. I did a lot of improv with my acting coach and I loved it. And so I wanted to go, study, and somebody told me about his workshop. So I did, and then I watched it grow exponentially. In fact, I did the PR for the Groundlings at first. We didn't even have a name for the workshop until 2 years in. So it was very serendipitous for me that I was in the right place at the right time. But then I had always lived in Orange County and they were in LA, and I had a very demanding job as a copywriter at the time. And I had these 2 children, of course, that were my first, and all my children are my priority. And I just couldn't keep going with it. So then it was about, I think 8 years later, maybe I went back into it and I was working with the Groundlings Alumni Committee. And then I started to produce a couple shows there and did, I still do stuff with them off and on. Being in the Groundlings is like the song Hotel California. You can check in, but you can never leave. It's kind of like that.
This is so interesting. We got to take a station break, but I cannot wait to get back after the station break to finish this conversation with Cherie Kerr. It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley. Let me see that pen, man. Let me see the pen. The pen. Let's throw the pen. Okay. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is why is humor so important? Okay. So I'm going to come here. You come on. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna ask this question here. Humor. You want to ask that question? I mean, which one you want to ask?
Let me see.
Like, I'm gonna ask the first one. You gotta hurry up.
I'll ask 20.
Okay. So I am going to ask 21. You ask 20. Chuck is going to ask.
Am I taking too much?
Sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay.
She really loves what she does.
Survival in a rural deep south town and realization that life would never be the same. Fully laid out the struggle to adjust from city life to country life and sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate.
It is, man. This is great, man. This is fun. Yeah, I was an actor, stand-up comedian, all that other type of stuff. You know, so different world right now. You know, different world. You know, so. Oh man, it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be great. And so I'm gonna try to watch the whole thing tonight, but I got an early flight tomorrow morning. You know, so I get it Rob and Kelly probably about 10:15.
Hey, no.
Okay. Welcome back to Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I'll tell you, you still got an opportunity to call in 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Cherie, wow, you putting it down. You know, so I like the humor portion. Can you tell the audience why is humor so important to all of us?
Because it brings us balance. In my experience, in the having lived in both those worlds, the comedy world and the business world, business people are really highly pressured, high performers who don't have a lot of balance in their lives, if you might notice. So, you know, it's important that we balance out the stress and the tough times with a good measure of humor to keep yourself level. Otherwise, people become, you know, just down and depressed, and it takes its toll over time. And I think that everything has a funny skew to it if you look at it differently. And if we can inject humor into our day, whether it's our speeches and presentations or our meetings, or read humorous material, or watch like Coming to America too, do something like that every single day, you'll begin to balance out, you know, the chemicals in your brain, literally. That's what happens.
Well, Cherie, you're highly trained in improv comedy. Have you been challenged by a situation where you didn't know what to say or what to do? Like you might have froze?
Yes. And do you want me to tell you quickly what it was?
Yes.
It was my father's funeral, and we're all there. We're sitting there. My sister and I decided to just have kind of a non-denominational minister there, and we told him, spent, I don't know, 2 hours with him, telling him all about my father's a jazz musician and some of the great people he was able to, you know, be in films with and play with and private parties and all that. And so we're sitting there, we're all ready for the minister to come to the graveside to do the thing, and he doesn't show up. So my sister looks over to me and she says, do something, because she's older and she's always bossed me around. And I said, you do something. Kind of whispered to her. She said, no, you get up and do something. So I got up and I improvised this whole service. Okay, who's got a Charlie story? Oh, great. Lucille, you tell us that Charlie story. And then I had a girl there, a friend of mine who's a great jazz singer. And I said, Karen, get up and I think you should sing Amazing Grace. And she did. So I improvised the whole funeral. And then 10 minutes after everybody's starting to walk away, the minister shows up and said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was an hour. I didn't know it was at 2. I thought it was at 3. And that was the most, probably the most, because you know what? By then he had Alzheimer's and I took a lot of care of him. You know, he was in a facility, but I was with him 3-4 times a week. And I wanted to just have the big cry that day. I just wanted to sit there in the front row with my sister and cry. I thought I'd finally earned that. And no, I had to get up and perform. I think he would have loved it though. I really do. But that was the most challenging, Michelle, that I have ever experienced before, where I really did not know what I was going to do.
Well, Cherie, I'm just curious. We're talking about improv and comedy, and yet you have 42 years in public relations. How do you do both? And where does the public relations come in all of this?
Well, you know, I really started out at a home building company doing their PR. I kind of lied my way into the job and, oh yeah, I can do PR. But I was there to apply for the receptionist job. And I got the PR job and I knew they were going to fire me every day, but they didn't. Then their ad agency came along and got me. So that's how I started in PR. And this was in my mid-20s as well. And then I wanted to leave that world many times, but it's something that I seem to enjoy a lot of. And I do some really interesting work today. I do a lot of crisis PR. And so I balance my time between ExecuProv and the PR work. And then of course my comedy. And I think I'm just really blessed that I've had opportunity and a strong constitution to be able to do all the things that I love to do.
You are a very interesting person, and I'm just gonna ask you this question: what is a snapshot of your life highlights? I mean, you done so much. Yeah, so can you tell our listener audience just a snapshot of the highlights and a lot of things that you do?
Well, as I said, I started out doing, I guess my parents say I did my first stand-up routine at age 3. I got up in front of them because I loved to perform and imitated everybody in the neighborhood. And they thought that was hilarious. And they were lounge singers, my parents were. So they called in sick that one night. That's something I remember. And the only thing I remember of that. And then I went on to study acting and went to parochial school, where I really credit the nuns for giving me a great education. And then I went to high school, and then I went to college and was a pom-pom girl, and that was fun. And I didn't do, I was a really bad student, but I got a lot of people to events, you know, show up for stuff. So that was kind of my PR start, I guess. And then I was married at age 20. I had 2 kids by the time I was 24 and a divorce at 25. Then a few years later, I married a sportscaster who was on KABC radio for quite some time. And that was a very exciting but crazy life. And then we split up. And then I married somebody else, had another child. Then I all of a sudden decided that I really missed the improv with the Groundlings, because that's what I did in my mid to late 20s and then my early 30s. So that's when I started the Orange County Crazies, which is much like the Groundlings. And then all along I think I wrote my first book when I was in my early 40s. And then I had been writing books and screenplays ever since then. I have 4 screenplays, 2 that have already been produced and they're out there. One is called We've Got Balls. It's a family-friendly cult bowling movie, and about a bowling alley that's going to get taken over by the lady who owns the land, and they just have a lease, and then they have a bowling tournament. It's really silly, but it's available on Amazon if you want to watch it. And then of course the film that I'm in a big festival this summer in Vegas, and we're screening it there, the live screening. And I actually play my own part of a completely burned out improv sketch director doing her last show. And it's called The Show Can't Go On. That's the name of that piece. And there's a trailer. If you go to SCGO movie.com, you can see the trailer. But full disclosure, the F-bomb is used liberally in this film, and I don't want to offend anybody. We've Got Balls is not, it's a very family fun movie. Kids love it. And there's not a whole lot of profanity at all in that film. But I love profanity, especially when I'm driving. So, and then I went on to, to just keep writing books. And right now I'm in the middle of trying to get the funding for another film. And also I'm finishing a collection of short stories that I'm almost done with, that I've been working on for about 8 years.
Wow. I tell you, how can our listening audience, if they want to reach out to you, get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? How can they?
They can email me. They can go to ExecuProv.com and they can reach out to me or any of the other people on my team there. And they can go, they can just go to ExecuProv and find me there. And my email address is very long, so I don't want to take up another hour of your show.
we down to the last minute or so.
I know. But, okay, so should I say it really fast?
Yes.
Okay, it's Cherie, Cherie at Kerr, KERRPR -execuprov.com.
Wow, Cherie, this has been absolutely fantastic. We're gonna have to bring you back on because there is a lot more that we want to talk about with this one. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the James Cooley Show. So thank you so much. And I want to thank my co-host, Michelle Cooley, my friend and my mentor and show contributor, Chuck Trinone. I got to thank my producer, Noah, and always my listening audience. Thank you. Keep in mind that we are always looking for sponsors so we can continue to bring great messages like this to you. So have a great weekend. I mean, just like I told you, this is no better way to start a weekend. And we will be back Monday, same time, same place. It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, man, that was great.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh man, I tell you, we're gonna be bringing it next week, bro.
Stay on.
Okay, so DJ Carrot Stick next week. Hey, you had mentioned something about you might have had another potential guest or something. So looking forward to it, my friend. Looking forward to it. You know what? You have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, man. And I will see you Wednesday, but we might be talking before then. Okay. Hey, thanks so much. All right. Facebook family. Hey, let's turn this up so everybody can hear us. So hey, Cherie, can you hear me? Chuck, can you hear me?
I can, yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm back on Zoom. Can you get back to Zoom?
Yeah, I'm hear you.
Cherie, can you hear me?
She's not up on Zoom yet, I don't think. James, I can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you, Chuck.
Yeah. She was fantastic. She was awesome.
Cherie, can you hear me? Oh, yes. Can you hear me now? I can hear you, Cherie.
Cherie, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Cherie?
She has to turn up her computer.
Maybe she can't hear me. But thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. And I don't think she can hear me, Chuck.
Well, tell her to turn up. I'm going to try to get a note into her. I'll give her a note.
I'll do it.
Okay, so Cherie. Okay, she can't. But anyway, Facebook family, I hope you had as much fun as I did.
Are you
Uh,
talking?
yes, yes. Turn up your volume. The volume.
It's off?
Computer,
Yeah, yeah. We off that.
Wait,
turn up your volume.
Cherie, can you hear me? Hold that up again, Michelle.
Can you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, I
we
can now. Yeah, yeah. We can hear you.
No?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Turn up your volume.
Oh, wait a
I can.
second.
Yeah, you're fine.
I
We
can hear
you,
her.
Cherie. We can hear you.
No, it's just the radio.
Oh, can you hear me now? The radio.
Wait
Turn
one
off your
second.
phone
Okay.
from the radio part. Yeah. Yeah,
Chuck,
yes.
your volume is turned down.
My volume's turned down.
Can you say something?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Hello.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
But I tell you, we're gonna sign off. But that was a fantastic show. I mean, I had such a great time.
I have
You
another
guys
question.
want to leave the
for
Facebook
off
family
the air.
with any
She's still
important
there. I have-
messages?
God, I'm sorry.
Cherie, is your father
I can hear
Charlie?
you.
Is that what your dad's name was, Charlie?
Hey, can you hear?
I'm sorry, what?
I said I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes,
said.
and I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry I talked so much about
No,
myself.
it was
I'm really
fantastic.
sorry.
You know what? I tell you, my producer said that's the. I mean, out of all the shows this week, he was saying that this was the most fun he done had this week.
Yeah, this is a
You know,
fun.
so this was fun. I mean, this was it was an experience because I've been away from the game so long, I don't forgot.
It's fun. We need to
Yeah.
stay more in comedy. I meant to mention Pee Wee Herman is from the Groundlings too.
Yes.
So
They're a wonderful actor, by the way. But I did not, I mean, I was hoping to stop myself from talking so much so I could give maybe some tips or some other information that you maybe wanted me to do. And all of a
That's
sudden I'm
okay.
looking at all of you guys and I'm thinking,
Another
I'm talking too much.
no, actually, this was fantastic. And I tell you, we can do this again if you have time within the next few months.
Sure, whatever, and if you want to give me just something very specific to talk about to help the listeners, I'm glad to do that. I'm usually kind of shy about talking about myself, honestly.
Well.
And I've found myself talking just nothing but
No,
myself.
actually, I'm being honest. That was everything you said was fantastic. I mean, it was our audience needed to know a little bit about you and this and that. And so when we come back again, I mean, just like in a few months, if you have time, we will specify something specific, and a teaching moment, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my wish is to help you guys, teach people some things that maybe they otherwise wouldn't know to
Yeah.
do, or how fun it is to use comedy in everything we do. So again, I'm be happy to come on whenever you want me to and talk about anything that you think would inspire your listeners. If nothing else, I hope, having taken what to me really has been not an easy life and converted all those lemons into some lemonade here and there, has been, my blessing. And I'm so grateful to God for
Well,
that.
I'm gonna hold you to that, because I'm going to be calling on you in a couple of more months. A couple of months to come back
that's
on the
true.
show again real soon. I mean, I'm telling you.
Okay, I've got some great stories, behind the scenes stories for you too,
Yeah.
with some of these actors that I mentioned that might be fun for your listeners.
And we're gonna talk about some of them. Hey, Chuck, you got anything you want to say, Chuck?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say to you, that was brilliant, wonderful. Just a question: Is your dad Charlie? Was that your father's name, Charlie?
Yeah, my father's name, it was Charlie De Pietro, and he
Okay.
was a string bass jazz player, and he was discovered by Jack Teagarden. I don't know if you know who that is. He was a great jazz trombone player, and he sat in one night where my dad was playing with a group and discovered him and took him from Columbus, Ohio, where I was born, even though my parents were from New York, and he moved to California. And then they sent for Heather and I, like not until 9 months later, because when they got to California, the band fell apart and my father had no job. And then he ended up as a sideman. He was in Love Me Tender. He's one of the guitar players sitting right next to Elvis
Huh.
on a porch. He did films with Sinatra. He did private parties at Judy Garland's house.
Huh.
He just had the most incredible story. And he had this list of all these people he had played for or been with and done gigs and all. And he wanted to write his biography one day. And then he started to get dementia shortly after my mother died rather suddenly. And he just lost it. And so my way to grieve his loss was I spent 8 years every weekend and many nights during the week writing his life story.
Huh, that's amazing. Well, I mentioned that because my father, they always referred to him as Charlie. We grew up 250 miles east of you near Pittsburgh. And so that was that. And then the other thing I was going to let you know, we were hoping she was going to call in tonight, but I had a great conversation today with Felicia, last name. Felicia Luca. She's listening in tonight. She was listening in.
I know her. She's a doll.
Yeah, she was wonderful. I talked with her, and so she said, I got to listen in. So we were hoping she was going to call in. That's why we didn't say anything, so she was listening in, from the Jersey shores
Right.
tonight from you. So if she reaches out to you, we told her to listen in, and I think she is. So hopefully she did.
I know who she is. She's a really sweet gal. They have a real nice podcast, she and a partner of hers.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to follow up with her because you connected me with her. I have one other question, just really, because as a matter of the person Jim Hughes that you told me to call, was he a former strategic in business advertising and such? Is that the Jim Hughes?
Yes.
Okay, I
He
found
is
him.
very, very well known, and I've known Jim since my early 20s, and he's just an amazing, brilliant guy and
Okay.
does everything with campaigns. And he now has a company that trains and teaches ad agencies different strategies on how to do their campaigns and everything.
Okay. Well, I would just making sure because you suggested him to follow up with as well. So we're going to follow up with him, but no, that's wonderful.
Okay. Well, if you let me know if you need his contact information.
Yeah, maybe
And I'll
his
give
phone number. Maybe his phone number. That's about all.
Okay. I just have to look that
No,
up.
not right now. Not right now. You don't have to.
Okay. I'll email it to you.
I'll get it tomorrow or something. Yeah, that's no worry.
You know what? I'm gonna have to close out because I got to get ready for that early flight tomorrow morning.
No, guys, thank you so much for
Yeah, it
this
was wonderful.
opportunity. I really appreciate it.
We really appreciate you
very
coming
much
on.
did, and I'm sorry if I talk too much.
No. Hey, you was great. We really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm telling you, Cherie, I'm going to invite you back in a couple of months if you have time.
Okay.
I want to take one of the classes. I'm interested in one of the fast on your feet
good.
or Zoom this or whatever it is. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
the Zoom, this class is very popular right now. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, about how to be a broadcaster
Okay.
during that next session with Bill Ellermeyer.
Oh, you're going to do his? Okay. Well, I'll be on that in this month. And Bill invited
Yeah.
James to be on.
Yeah, so I will be on there. I think the 31st.
Good.
The
I'm
last
looking forward
Wednesday
to it.
of this month. Yeah. This month.
Yeah, I'm speaking that day as well, James, and
Okay.
I don't know. What are you going to talk about that
No,
day?
no. I'm just going to attend. I'm just going
Oh, you're
to.
going to attend. Oh,
Yeah,
I bet
I'm just going to check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, anyway, I so appreciate you guys, and it's really nice to just have some interaction and meet some new people, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you. And I think Michelle may have dropped off, but
Yeah, Michelle, she got to go. She's here. I mean, she's in the
yeah,
house.
no, I know you guys are busy, but thank you so much. I really do
Cherie,
appreciate
keep
it.
in mind that any guests, just like me and you talked last week, or
Right.
anybody that you recommend, I mean, if you think they're a good fit to come on the show, by all means, we're always looking for great guests.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
will
thank you
keep
so
my
much.
eye out. Absolutely. And
Hey, I
thank you
tell you
again.
what, I got to close this out, but thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
you. I'll talk to you later. Chuck,
Pleasant
I'll get you
dreams.
that number